In modern society, there is supposedly a bias towards taller people. Tall people get more jobs. Tall people are more attractive. Tall people get altitude sickness. Peter Crouch, Gru from Despicable Me, and the Pokemon Executor. It must be great to be tall. What would happen then if you purposely bred a species to be as tall or as long as possible? Would they prosper, or would they eventually snap in two? I had to find out, and to help me, I would be using the most advanced scientific technology ever created. The 2008 video game, Spore. My goal was to make a creature even longer than a python, more extended than a boa constrictor, stretching further than the guttering around Buckingham Palace. To accommodate for such length, I named my planet Long Earth. Have we got any Long Earthers watching? Comment down below. Open your eyes, the world is long! I need an environment that would facilitate my creature's rapid growth, so I decided to start at the very beginning. Cell stage. I made my creature a herbivore, because Diplodocus were herbivores and those guys were freaking massive. But when I spawned in, I was quite frankly a bit disappointed. No matter, this was only the beginning. I immediately found a mate and began to thin out our creature. To my dismay, this was the longest I could make him, but not to worry because there was still of course a saving grace. The bagpipe mouth. With this, I estimated my length was probably similar to that of a Pringle can, but there aren't any Pringles inside of this body, just pure potential. And next thing I knew, it was time to move into creature stage. With creature stage comes a whole lot more customization, and that means we could go a lot longer. Mwah! It's beautiful! This is a creature deserving of the name Longboy. It's alright Longboy, come to the surface. Don't be shy. Come on Longboy. Come on, there we go. It's not so bad. It's fine. Now on land, Longboy was ready to take the world by storm, and upon encountering other creatures, they were so impressed by his scale that they made friends with him instantly. This sense of friendship and cooperation gave me an idea. Okay, right, order everyone. Form a line. Come on now, we've got to work together on this one. Form a line, form a line. My idea was that by aligning my creature with others from our species, it would give the impression of one extremely long creature. Unfortunately, when you're this long already, teamworking exercises become quite a challenge, and as each creature's head was so far away from each other, they had to shout very loud to communicate. It wasn't working, and as I continued to play the game, it seemed this version of my creature had some other significant issues as well. It pains me to say it, but this is actually the longest Spore allows you to make a creature's body, and with this in mind, it was difficult to see where I would go from here. My quest was at a standstill. I had hit rock bottom. You know what they say about rock bottom though? The only way you can go from here is up. Oh my goodness. The only way we can go is up. On every graph there are at least two axes. I was so focused on the x-axis that I neglected to think about the y. Now it was time to go vertical, and it was a matter of moments before I'd created this majestic specimen. This creature was tall, so tall that it was nearly being blown over by the wind. I mean, just look how tall it is in comparison to this adorable elephant creature. In real life, of course, elephants are huge, so we must be ginormous. In fact, these two elephants were so embarrassed by our size that they began to piggyback each other, just to try and reach our height. I like these elephants. They made my creature seem even taller, and more than anything, they were quite useful as a sense of scale. So I decided to take one with us on our adventure, so I'll always roughly know just how tall we are. Think of it as a relationship of respect. One tall creature having admiration for another. Having said that, I wanted to impress our new friend even more, and to do that, I made this. There was no doubt that this creature was taller, but with this came a cost. We had absolutely no stability, and one of my creatures in particular was having a torrid time. The wind was blowing him all around the place. To counter this, I tried to do what tightrope walkers have done for centuries, and gave him arms which spread out on either side. This worked to an extent and made us much better at gathering fruit off trees, but we did look like one of them windsocks that wobbles around near a motorway. This did give me an idea though. How about instead of just our arms outstretched in the air, we move our whole body upwards? That way, we'd essentially double our length. This new setup would involve a central base, from which long legs and long arms would protrude. I mean, this kind of setup has worked for the giraffe for a long time now, so I don't see why it wouldn't work for me. And initially, all seemed to be going well. But then, My creature had built up a bit too much speed, and his neck started to be blown around by the wind again. During this whole mess of a situation, other creatures tried to take advantage of my instability, and some sort of crab began to attack my size comparison elephant. I couldn't let this happen. Otherwise, how would I be able to measure myself? Thankfully, we were able to use our necks in a sort of whipping motion, and it was too much for the crab to handle. I'm so glad you're safe, little elephant. For a moment there, I was afraid I wouldn't know how tall I was. Eventually, the party was able to recuperate, but the damage of the battle had already been done, and my friend was so shaken up that he'd worked himself into a perpetual spin. Something needed to change. The forces of nature were affecting my creature too much. I need a way for my creature to be able to fully extend itself without any obstacles. And to do this, we would have to take to the skies. It was here that I started the quest for wings. To begin with, I gave my creature the worst wings in the game, but rather than being able to extend himself when in the air, my creature seemed to be flying at a right angle. I still held out hope that with more powerful wings, this wouldn't be a problem, so I set out to find some. Along the way, I made some more friends, found some fossils, and got eaten by a giant spider, which made my game crash. Oh, to be a Spore player. This set me back quite a lot, but this time I rectified my mistakes, stayed away from any giant spiders, and eventually I had some better wings. Now surely my creature will be able to stretch to his full potential. Nope, still flying at a 90-degree angle. I don't know, stick some arms on it or something? No, that's just made it worse. Well, that's it then. What am I even doing anymore? I've played through this game so many times now, and I can't even make a long creature. Why would I even want a long creature? This is a terrible idea. Maybe, and hear me out here, maybe being long is kinda overrated. Maybe it's all about being wide. Yes, wide boy, wide boy, wide boy. What, wide boy? Something terrible had happened. Wide Boy was so wide that he got himself into a tangle, and before he knew it, he was out of control. Even worse news, as he straightened out, he went into a perpetual bouncing roll. He rolled all the way down the hill and into the sea, but he was so wide that he couldn't swim, and he began to drift around under the water. Wide Boy, can you hear me? Wide Boy, you're drifting out to sea, Wide Boy, you're drifting out to, oh my god, no!